the colonial legacies that we've been having in Africa, this could extend these particular structures that already have existed before. So looking at it in that objective angle is what I want us to discuss today, and provoking our understanding, and maybe us to carry this conversation out there, to write papers, to engage more when it comes to dependency of this kind. What if we are careful that this reliance on the West, on the creators, could, although right now we are having some advantages, but also there is a danger, or the danger has been seen, where there are other negative implications. Because one, these digital devices are dictated by the user operational bound. There are boundaries of the use. If it's a mediation to the early warnings tools by African Union, we all know about it. But how can you use it as a normal peace builder? Even other AI tools, child protection by SOAS, or the Children Village organization, or other organizations that own this. These are particular owned by different people or different entities, in particular from the global north. So you use them according to the boundaries that have been set. Organizations that employ them, peace organizations that may want to use these already pre-created tools, digital tools, into their peace processes, will have to work within the conflict. So there is monopoly in terms of purchase, user options, and limiting system and input. And of course, the output is usually premeditated. It's already been programmed by the creator. These are some of the disadvantages, or some of the ways we can look at dependency when we talk about peace processes. And it cuts across the research tools, because there's a sifting, of course, which papers or sometimes which policies are easily found even on the internet, the programmings and the algorithms. What pops out first? Which knowledge is exalted? African scholars, peace scholars, all these aspects. So we are looking at all these dynamics. But I don't want to be linear in kind of thinking, because I want to say there is advantage when it comes to use and dependency. But of course, having in mind that Africa is a consumer of these tools. Africa is a consumer, mostly and largely a consumer, other than a builder of tools. And given that Africa has over 58 online, or researchers have put their unreported border conflicts and all these theaters as Africa of our own platforms that can resolve the conflicts that we have. So when we talk about the impacts of digital dependency in function, we are talking where peace actors can communicate for times, transparency, and the peace brokers, digital, where we can use this. But of course, we have other things that may arise, like ethical issues, power dynamics, where peace processes, when we use technology in peace processes, there are concerns of privacy, there are concerns of power imbalance, political will, and you see all these aspects are contributors to peace. For my, this is my own thinking. I believe that the stability of Africa is purely rooted in in peace. Look at countries that have and states that are purported to be failed, like Somalia. Look at states that have the lowest GDP. These are conflict invaded states. Those that are termed as poorest, these are conflict invaded states, most of them, except maybe Eritrea, which has dictatorship and non-welcoming of the international, the IOs into their space. But these particular states have peace as a determinant of to their development. And we've seen countries that have, either in a good way or in a bad way, controlled the aspect of violence, maybe just given it peace, but not per se positive peace, like Rwanda, my opinion, that is. You've seen the rise in terms of economical growth. So they are all tied up. So the peace of African states is actually tied to their development. So, which is very key. And with the rising digitalization and the rate of consuming factor that we have, like now we have Kenya being ranked as the number one user of ChatGPT in the world. You can imagine, and that is just ChatGPT that did the research. Other tools have not, other companies have not. So you can imagine the user rate and how it affects peace of states. So dependency per se on the functions can be used for good, but also can bring negativities. For instance, the aspect of Kenya, those that have watched the news, and even other countries that have digitally adopted, the youth, a massive use of internet. We've seen like Kenya internet users and TikTok trigger protest last year and even this year. Meaning, if the same tools can provoke instability, then they can still be used for good. And we are looking at options since the traditional methods have per se failed when it comes to resolving African conflicts because of the brokers. What if digital peace can eliminate these contributors to conflicts in Africa? But how are we eliminating them through digitalization that depends on the external producers or creators who may play big a big part in contributing to this uh, destabilization that we are having across Africa. And I'm not saying poorly is the external hand or hegemony on pluralism that affects, that has contributed to conflicts in Africa, but has a hand, outrightly has a hand. Colonial legacies and boundaries and all these things have a hand in it. So it is key to understand that this conversation is so important at this point. Why? Let me show you the data, why it is important. We can go to the chart where we have data, why it is important right now to have these conversations around digital peace. Look at penetration and divides. 855 million people across Africa are connected. Those are the recorded ones. I believe research is not conclusive, it's just estimates. They're even more. Across Africa, 38% internet access, 120 million new subscribers by 2025. And of course, we are past that right now. But we still have other gaps like a gender digital gap where women have less access to mobile phones and digital and internet, and rural and urban disparities. These are gaps that we still have in Africa. People in rural areas do not use, or remote areas have little access to mobile phones or gadgets or even internet. And those that have lived in Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria, maybe may have more advantage. But if you visit other places like remote places just outside this Uganda, like Rwanda, like Ethiopia, you'll find that you cannot access internet. Purely, you cannot unless you've gone with a company that provides you with that internet. There's no easy access. You can imagine, and these conflicts mostly happen in these remote areas, not per se in cities, but an exemption of Khartoum and other areas that have conflicts in cities, mostly conflicts happen in remote areas. And this is a disadvantage that we have in Africa. But we cannot ignore that we depend, even in other developmental areas, in finance, in health, in agriculture. Mostly we import technology other than creating our own. Although we are learning, but we are lagging behind as Africa. And in the beginning, I began by saying that all this contributes to peace, and peace contributes to all this. There's no rising in development if there's no peace. And some of the accelerators of peace or factors that inflate peace. One is technology and has become a big thing, especially in East Africa. So, Africa's lag in telecommunication race is indicative of broader dependence on the products and the systems of peace of the frontier economies, which is a key that we must have early enough. So if we have dependency, yet our numbers are rising in terms of usage and penetration, then we must discuss creation of tools. We must discuss avoidance of digital coloniality, and so forth. So there we go. With impact, which I have clearly mentioned. There is inclusion, there is a transparency, there is verification, there is a speed, data analytics. In function, dependency is good. In function, it is good. But dependency in product and systems without creating our own, that could create cleavages and access points for another form that one of the authors called Magnolo and Christina Walsh. They call it CMP, colonial matrix, colonial power, where there is continuity of these coloniality structures now embedded in. So because when you don't start something, you don't have the terms of use. And this is a key aspect that the researchers and peace stakeholders must look into keenly, to voice, to have conversations and dialogues, to put out research there and invoke, provoke, and encourage experts, tech companies in Africa to create for Africa, and especially for conflict resolution, peacemaking, peacekeeping, peace processes. We can go to the next slide. With these conversations around digital dependency, we must embrace. I'm a pluriversalist thinker, and even if we talk about decolonization in this era of AI, and especially looking at ultimate peace or positive peace of African states, resolving digital dependency, we must embrace pluriversalism. That's a context where we bring different worldviews, different worldviews into the context of peace processes and technology. So we are embracing the African ontologies. We're embracing Western and global North perspectives. We're embracing local agencies, women. We are putting into consideration UNSCR 1325 and and incorporating all these worldviews. So it's an aspect pluriversalism. I'm a big advocate of this concept. We are running away from linear thinking and avoiding one man syndrome of thinking that has plunged Africa mostly into conflicts. The big man syndrome, this kind of thinking dismantles the big man syndrome of African kind, even of leadership. Because what has ailed the African space when it comes to peace processes, the big man syndrome, where people and key actors in conflicts cannot agree because of this disease, quote unquote, big man syndrome. And because we cannot and we're not comfortable accepting different worldviews and bringing them to create. When you look at case of SF, where we have these two men, Bahrain and this other one, Hamadi, they have because and first they worked together. Now they cannot agree. Now there's so much right now. I wish you go and check some of the documentaries. Actually, what is happening currently, and people are eating leaves. Towns are destroyed. Look at DRC right now. and Goma is being taken over. Now M23, they want to take over Kinshasa. People cannot agree. What is it? Big man syndrome of Africa, because we do not accept different kinds of thinking. Yes, colonization was bad, but I believe that even the colonizers that died, and now maybe some of them have taken over some done continuities of these aspects. But we can still dismantle some of these structures by incorporating what has worked in them in the global north into south, and think of all these aspects together, incorporating everyone, including the children and the youth. We cannot ignore the youth. You've seen uprisings across African continent because of ignoring the youth and the voice of the young people, the Gen Zs and so forth. So all these agencies cannot be ignored. So when we talk about resolving digital dependency, we are the African digital sovereignty, where we have a collective goal. We come together, we have a collective goal. We have plural governance frameworks. So we have frameworks that have been researched all around and incorporated together, and legal harmonization. We build local, technical, and institutional capacity building, like what is happening right now. And thank you so much, DP, and thank you, even the founder, thank you, Emma, and for even organizing this. What are we doing? We are building capacities. This is a step, and I believe everyone in Africa has a part to play when it comes to peace, even of that conflict that one has not experienced, that people hear from afar. You hear from Somalia, you hear DRC if you're in Kenya and other peaceful countries. So we build capacity, we promote pluriversal AI, meaning we incorporate everyone's worldview to balance and to bring into solution what is workable. And then we decolonize digital peace building knowledge and practice by incorporating the local agency, not alone the external creators, for instance, from Europe or so forth. We must include the local agencies. And then we ensure equitable access. We see there is a digital divide, gap in gender use. So when we incorporate pluriversal AI, ethical digital technology use, that works. So, and encouraging regional and Pan-African digital cooperation, Pan-Africanism, balancing open connectivity, and so forth. Political will and multi-stakeholders, regional organization, AU, ECOWAS, SADC, and all these things. Bring them together, think together, come up with our own solutions in our own way. And of course, financing of these innovative digital peace building tools is very key. And I was speaking to one of the AU personnel that were telling me this is an area that states have no interest in when it comes to funding to the AU digital peace. No interest. And you look at it and see, when you compare to the amounts that we are investing, actually, just go down. There's on this one, yes, on economic impact, the cost of conflicts versus digital prevention. You see how much we are spending in Africa. We are spending and investing. Go down a little bit down. We look at the map. We look at the yes. Look at the digital piece. Digital is is below, way much below. Sorry for that. It's way much below required. Like it's so much below, and we can see the cost of conflict is up. We invest in armed conflicts in militaries, but now digital peace is almost zero. You see, below $6,000. Investment in post-conflict, see where it is, but armed conflicts, how much we are spending. You see, we are not building peace at all. So, if we are not building peace, it means that our concept of attaining peace, we're not investing in it. So, how can you reap? How can you get results where you have not invested? So, it's a call for us to invest in peace, even in peace finance. Okay, we can go to the next one as I wind up. As I wind up on this, right? So we have seen what we have. So we have risks, we have vulnerabilities in digital dependency. One is misinformation, there's propaganda, there's digital divide, and we've talked about it, exclusion, foreign technology dependent may tweak especially for the scholars that are here, reconstructing some of the norms and terms that have been used in Africa. For instance, border and ethnic conflicts, and some of these conflicts, when we call them border ethnic conflicts, some of these border the conflicts have existed way after the divide by the colonists. So people have never settled on what belongs to them and to us, or this kinds. We've seen the Kenyan maritime conflict, Kenya and Somalia, Kenya and Uganda. We've seen all these border conflicts across Africa that are unheard and unmentioned, and there's a continuous trend from since the colonies left. So, how do we call that? So, some of these things. So, if that was a creation of uh, of of that, so you can imagine when we bring on board algorithms and resolves that we have not also created. It's continuance. So it's a call for us to, if we cannot create campaign for creation, campaign for rebuilding, find research gaps where techies or people in technology can come up with models that can resolve these particular conflicts by ourselves. So, innovations and best practices in peace building. First, we have to make sure that we have community centered designs, and especially community, everyone being involved, and forfeiting these cultures of ignoring women or some gender into and children and the youth in these processes. Then multilingual solutions, AI solutions, and we've seen that even in Kenya we have platforms that have other languages like Swahili. We should have hybrid diplomacy models and youth digital champions and so forth. These are some of the practices that uh, can be best to have an inclusive, pluriversal kind of thinking when it comes to technology. And as we forge way forward, we must look at the policies. So if we are adopting policies as regional institutions, as academic institutions, as organizations like ours, like DPA, like AI for Peace Africa, as Amani conversations, and if we are looking at policy recommendations to avoid digital dependency, how are we channeling this kind of conversations in the tables? How are we advancing these aspects? So we must make sure they are ethical, there's AI governance, there's sovereignty, all this inclusion that should be put in, among other things that are important. We should invest, avoid leakages through cyber security, the hacking and all these things. We've seen how currently in East Africa banks are losing money from hackers and so forth, and all these things that are making institutions, even development institutions, lose a lot of money. So what policies are there? And we have to keep engaging in 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 these conversations, especially policy and upgrading, because AI and technologies is ever evolving. Tomorrow we have this. So the policy table must be continuously be engaged. So digital inclusion must have everyone on board to avoid pure dependency from the knowledge, so that even the user engagement and purchase can be negotiated for better use and even for better outcome. So these are some of the things that we should look at. And knowing that we have very many platforms right now that are in peace tech, mass scanning, all this Uwiano, like Kenya National Cohesion have come up with something called Uwiano. We have many other platforms that are coming in for democracy and elections to curb things and violence, hate speech in elections and so forth. So these are key and important, and we should be careful to engage in. Yeah. So as I wind up, let me give my last shot and my last thinking and thought when it comes to digital process and dependency of digital. And this is my thing.
Naomi, I don't know if it's just me, but we seem to be losing you. Can you hear our speaker?
Hello. Yes, yes. I was asking for a minute. I'm sat in a place and someone has just come to speak with a mobile
Okay.
phone.
Okay.
So I had to move. So I just want to give my final remark on this. I hope you can hear me.
Yes,
Can
Yes,
you
we
we
hear
can
me?
hear
can.
you now.
Yes, we can.
Looking at this last chart that I have put there, this is my final thought on this particular discussion today. And given my pluriversal kind of thinking, I want us to look at this chart: decoloniality, border thinking, pluriversality, epistemic disobedience, and I'll explain that. So, to understand the digital dependency on African peace processes, we must delink from hegemonic epistemologies of development and security, and mostly Eurocentric kind of thinking for to enable Africa's future digital future to move forward. We must engage that force in terms of mindset. We must engage that. So we must look at digital peace building must manifest epistemic disobedience, lack of incorporation. In Africa, we have over 2,000 languages. In Norway, you can create one single tool, all these things, but in every situation, there can be a specific way to incorporate that specific thing of those particular people and contexts and situations. So there can be that other than imposition. So we can look at early warnings systems that pathologize African conflicts as tribal anomalies that I have told you, other than geohistorical legacies of partitions of the colonialists. So we have to look at pluriversality, where we must run away from one world illusion of globalization. It is not one world. It must be polycentric. It must have Ubuntu relational ontologies, dialogues with blockchain transparencies, and we must be unyoked, not yoked. The way they say in the Bible, do not be yoked together. Now, this one, be unyoked or do not be yoked from Silicon Valley kind of extractive logics. There must have, there must be origins of African kind or inclusions into this technology. So if we must embrace, I know we're using all these aspects, but of course I know some of them are generative, and we've seen through research that some of this data has been fed from Africa and by Africans in different African states, and data has been programmed there. Yes, but from what situation? With we must be sure that these processes embrace the contexts, they are context reliable, and actually embrace what is required through the confines of that particular conflict in Africa. So if it's warnings, if we are doing early warnings, we're looking at tools to be able to understand or to predict conflicts in DRC, then data from DRC should be the one that determines that outcome, not from elsewhere. So these are some of the ideologies that we must propagate. I feel we must propagate, purely my thought, but should be pluriversal. It should bring every world view or most of the worldviews that are relevant to the context into the table, other than world. It should not be only African. If it is made from the West, then it should involve, if it is going to be used in the South, then it should involve South builders or contributors. So if it is built in the South, it should incorporate aspects of the North that have worked, that are relevant, and use this is my,
We lost you again.
I'm saying thank you so much.
Yes.
I have done my parting shot.
Thank you. Do you mind going back on the last statement you've said? We lost you. You broke off a little bit. Just the last statement.
In terms of engagement and context building, Africa must engage if it's building peace or digital tools or digital platforms. Africa must engage also with other worldviews to ensure there is richness and there is quality of what they are doing. So if we are building, we must have a pluriversal mind that we must involve other worldviews in building, in research, in thinking, in capacity building, and so forth. So that we don't have linear thinking, and also we are not on our own local village that cannot be used elsewhere. So we must also build systems that are universal as Africans, but also we should advocate for the northern builders to incorporate African perspectives when it comes to digital peace, peace, peace tools and peace technology, because it is relevant and so that it can be universally or largely applicable when it comes to conflict resolution.
Wow, thank you. Yes, thank you so much. Emma, over to you to help us facilitate our question and answer section. But in the meantime, would love to hear your feedback using the emojis. Let's just take a moment to appreciate our lovely speaker. Thank you so much to our speaker. I learned a new word, which is pluriversality, which is so important, and it just calls us to engage not from a linear perspective, but incorporating different worldviews, different perspectives, and then also your parting shot that Africa must engage. We must put our hands out there. So thank you so much. Naomi, it was so insightful. These slides are available, so we will share them with the team. So Emma, over to you to facilitate our question and answer section. And yeah, so I'd encourage you guys to stay on. Let's ask and engage with our speaker for a few minutes before we call it an evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Joy, and special thanks to our guest speaker, Dr. Naomi. I think my take home for today is the fact that the nature of the war has changed, and it's been a constant change. So you realize that the very nature of war has truly transformed. So it's undeniably important to hold conversations around this topic. We see because of new technologies with AI now taking center stage. So we truly must engage on this. Yeah, I would like to welcome you all to our Q&A session, and I think I will, if you allow me, that is, take lead and ask Dr. Naomi. The other day I was reading an article, I think it was by Danish Masood Alavi, and it talks about AI in peace building. So he highlighted two main challenges, and the first challenges, according to him, is biasness in data, and that AI models are only as good as the data they're trained on. So what this does is then we have incomplete data or inaccuracy and reflects on the existing societal biasness. So at the end of it all, what we get is inequalities. The second challenge is on data scarcity, and that in conflict zones, we tend to not really get real-time data. Data is really truly scarce and unreliable, or even difficult to collect, really. which then directly impacts the accuracy and effectiveness of AI models. So, Dr. Naomi, how then do we navigate these two main concerns or challenges? Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. When we talk about biases and inequalities, these are biases, inequalities, and inadequate data because of inaccessibility of these areas for data collection. Yes, this has, especially for access in conflict zones, this is a problem that has been there. But I believe, as the article you've read, a tool is as useful, or the outcome or the output is as useful as the data that was used to build it. And I believe there's no data that is inaccessible. Conflicts, including even those of Ukraine and Russia, and even the worst places where we are having conflicts in Africa, there's no place that is not accessible. Even in Gaza right now, we have journalists, we have data collectors there, we have researchers. I believe it is at the cost, or it is the aspect when it comes to data and the inaccessibility of data in building peace models, is aspect of funding and investment that is key when you talk about inaccessibility and incomplete or inadequate. So when we have good investment of peace finances given priority, especially in Africa, then data collected for in these particular areas that seem inaccessible. Because when you say that there, we have UN there, we have UN even in some of the hardest places right now in Africa. We have AU, UNISOM, we have peacekeeping mission, and all these, especially peacekeepers, they carry an aspect of investment in peace finance when it comes to data collection and building models. So and not have that financial muscle to go to the last. And even result of this classified information agencies that are doing so. In my opinion, inaccessibility is not the aspect. It is aspect of finance and who is giving you data. Is there a willing buyer, willing seller, and for what purpose? And then when you talk about bias in building, that is absolutely what I was talking about. There will be inequalities all through when we don't employ pluriversal kind of mindset, because we are not incorporating every stakeholder, every agency in the data that we are collecting to build the systems. So for me, I'm not a concept, but I believe as a way of solving problems in African conflict setups. So we have to embrace all agencies, all the worldviews that are needed in that particular context, even in data collection, so that we have rich output when we start processing the data. Yeah, I think somehow I've answered your question.
Yes, yes, you have, Dr. Naomi, and thank you. Thank you so much. So now we are going to hand it over to the team to ask any questions that they may have. Simply unmute and ask away. Or you can also choose to type your question in the chat box. Yes. So I see there is one who has asked a question. Let me see. Oh, it's a comment actually. I will read it out loud. Thanks for the presentation. This is by Arika Joel Woodrow. Thanks for the nice presentation. We shouldn't forget our cultural methodology in conflict resolution. That's true. I hope some of you should have known how successful William Ari in peace building. Read Getting to Yes. I'm not really getting it. The Little Book of Justice and Peace Building. This should be a book. Please, this is a personal suggestion. The idea behind this is most mediators from Western world are found are fond of using transformative, the popular mediator can. Okay. Yeah. I don't know whether we have any other.
I have a question, Emma. Yes, and basically it's to look at, and I know Dr. Naomi has given us different tools or different strategies that we can use to get where we would like to be. I don't know, do we have any models that have worked, one that you can give us an example of, where it has incorporated the plurilateralism, and then has also incorporated, that African context, and to see perhaps what would the results look like. Also, would it, and I like what you said at the end, that we need to make policies. Would it help to have policies even for those who are setting up those software and AI companies in Africa, even if they are Western or from any other part of the world, to localize by even including creation or using, the Africans and the African knowledge in the creation of maybe such subsidiaries that are being set up here? Would that work? Yeah, I'm just curious. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Joy, for the question. Dr. Naomi, have we lost her? I can't see her.
I think she's on. Dr. Naomi,
Hello.
she's muted. Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
I kept losing you.
I could
In your
just repeat
question.
it very quickly.
Yes,
Is that
please go
okay?
ahead.
Yeah. So I was asking, I like what you talked about, plurilateralism. So are there models of AI tools for peace building that you can say have incorporated that idea and it has worked? And number two, as we talk about policy, would it be a good policy to have those AI companies that are being set up here, either doing positive peace building, to be created using by Africans, even if it's a subsidiary of something that is originally created in the Western world? Would that be a good model to make sure that whatever is created is contextualized? Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. The Let me try not to be quite. Let me stand on the fence when I'm answering this. I don't want to give you like this particular direction and then leave out the other one. When it comes to AI tools that have like researched and seen, they have incorporated different kind of aspects. Maybe this regional tool by African Union, the CEWs. If you are a peace researcher, you've seen that continental early warning system that has at least incorporated most of the African data into the African peace and security architecture, and has been quite useful, even in prompt warnings in Sahel regions with over 70% success rate. So different aspects that are relevant to the output that is required have been incorporated. So that's an aspect of pluriversal kind of contextualization that has been engaged in this building. So, and of course, that will be attributed to the financial muscle or the investment that was put in this, which is overly and keeps being developed and being upgraded. So this is one of those because it is an African thing. So others that are outside, that originate from outside, of course, we have used many of them. We've used data from ACLED. I know if you're a peace builder, you've used ACLED before. Data from a global peace index from the economy, peace economic. I don't know. The organization is IEP. These are global North institutions. And when you look at how the ranking has been done, sometimes you can see there's a difference according to you that is on the ground, meaning there's no real-time upgrade of this data, meaning what is required to provoke their output that we can see, it's not real time, meaning the context or the data that is ground on the ground has not been used. But again, we said to incorporate this data, there's a lot of financing that all this data that is required, there's a lot of financing that has to be done every now and then, and upgrading that is frequent. When it comes to policies, no, before I go to policies, let me talk about what we've been using as researchers, maybe sifting research papers. And sometimes I look at, when you look for research papers, and when you look at journals, what triggers them to pop up? What triggers the algorithm for this? And you see, African researchers are not part of the top 10. And that is our data. We are on the ground. Those that are researching on the ground. We are telling our own stories, but it's not popping up. So these are some of the things. Those you have to be very specific if you are a researcher to know the names of your scholars, the researchers, for you to go straight to them. So you'll find they'll not be the first. Their algorithms do not bring them up. Go and look at LinkedIn. You see a very good post by your African brother, and you see it after 3 weeks. It's popping up after 3 weeks, and you're wondering, okay, why now? It should have popped up that time. And you look at this, and you know there's something that determines what should be seen and what time and when. So it's the same. And that's why we should endeavor to create our own tools, because most of these tools have not incorporated the data from South. So I would say that intentionality in research and promoting our own and our own research, our own voices, conversations, tell our own stories should be a priority for every person that lives in global South. And it's not like it's sidelining, it's just saying that we need to give our own stories and our own research and data. Because if that was done and given priority, then we'll not have even linear kind of research that is out there. That, for instance, we were discussing with a friend yesterday of research that he had done of one of the slums, biggest slums we have in Africa, called Kibera in Nairobi. And previously, external people, researchers had come in the country and done research and said the population is over 1 million. But this person lives, used to live in this particular area, went one door by one door to another for a month, and the population was 260,000 people. And you can see that exaggeration of numbers. This is the biggest slum we have in Africa. No, even it didn't have 500,000 people. Then the government census came in the following and did that particular research and found that those particular times, not currently now, uh, that was over 10 years ago, they did census and realized, oh, these are just 270,000 people. Almost research similar number with what my friend had done, collected data and seen. So you can see, if you don't give your story to be given out by someone else, it's the same thing. It is data. So you see, someone has come, given data, wrong data, estimates, and put it out there. And it took a long time for different people had quoted that data over. Scholars, researchers quoted 1 million people in that slum, and it was a lie. So it took a long time for others now to come and deconstruct that perspective. It's the same thing even in our conflict sector. That's why we are not seeing results in Somalia. We're not seeing results in Sudan. We are not seeing results in DRC, in Sahel region, in Nigeria, northern Nigeria, and other places where conflict is. Why? Because we're using data that is wrong. So engagement of local agencies is very key. And again, the way you're talking about, you're saying policies, and how these policies can be involved, can be incorporated. I believe that we have to set our own rules. Like, let data come from the local agency. Come fund if you feel you need data from Goma, DRC. If you need data from there, you have to use the youth, use the local agencies, use the local language. Go to the villagers in Bukavu, engage the experiences of those people, other than because sometimes we write, when I quote some work, I do a lot of research. Could this be wrong? I'll quote a paper, quote a UN report, and sometimes you find a student who has done a thesis and went there, collected data, has totally different information about the same thing. So who is right? I'll believe my own African person. So sometimes we need to be on the table and set standards. Local agencies must be involved in data collection. And those are the policies and AI in terms of building AI tools. So if you have to create an AI tool for peace process in an African country or in South Sudan, then collect data from students from Juba University, collect data from those people, and so forth. You can oversee, but let the local agency have the input, and from that, then you will know what right information that you're incorporating. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much. That was very insightful. We have a lot to do. Thank you so much. Over to you, Emma.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Naomi. This has been very insightful. Let me proceed with a vote of thanks. I would like to take this opportunity to really thank you for this session today. It's been successful. I am sure all of us have learned and are taking home a thing or two at least. So we welcome you, Dr. Naomi, again and again for many more sessions in the future. So thank you so much. I don't know whether anybody else had a question in the chat, because from my end, what I can see are comments. I will read just one as we wind up. So there is this comment by Arike Joel Pudro. What I mean, the failure of most conflicts in Africa is due to the transformative conflict mediation. However, I do acknowledge women play a huge role in peace building, and not all countries. We need to acknowledge that for sure. Hence, there are some countries such as Islamic nations that have their own Islamic norms. It is not a matter of taking the job. There should be carefulness in utilizing women as peace building. So an example can be today in Libya or Somali, etc. The Islamic nations have their own unique Islamic norms. Yes, thank you so much. And we will share the presentation to everyone. I see people have shared their emails. I have noted down the emails, and I will email you shortly after this. So thank you so much. I see we have come to the end of our meeting today. And thank you all for being here. Thank you for making this a success. I don't know whether Joy, whether you have anything else to add on to before we can formally end.
Not really. Mine is just to join in thanking our very able Dr. Naomi, sorry. Thank you so much for that insightful conversation. I leave this this webinar very challenged to do much more for my continent. So thank you so much, and thank you for all you're doing in terms of being a leading voice, especially in digital peace building in Africa. I have followed her on LinkedIn, so I encourage you to follow her and learn more about the work that she does. So mine is just to say asante and to thank each one of you for taking the time to join this conversation. And again, we meet every month. So now that we have your emails, you will be getting an email to know anytime we have our next webinars. Other than that, have a lovely evening. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Allow me to also share our socials. We are on YouTube as Digital Peace Building Africa. Kindly give us a follow there. Leave comments, positive comments, of course. We are also available on LinkedIn as Digital Peace Building Africa. Kindly share the platforms and let people know us, and all those interested and are in the same field as us can also come on board. Thank you all and good evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.